Yes, welcome. It is Sunday, and we are here for our daily learning. Usually, our daily learning is at 12 o'clock, Sunday through Thursday. We've had some scheduling issues, so my sincerest apologies for the delays and changing of schedules. But we're very happy to be back, and I'd like to thank everyone that's here with us. Thank you so much. We are back with the book of Mishlei, and again, my apologies for the disruptions of schedule, but thank God we're on for another week, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll be here with you for our daily learning in the book of Mishlei. We are up to chapter 17, and we are at verse 13. A beautiful verse, a simple verse that is so self-evident, but is also something we constantly must remind ourselves of. Says verse 13, chapter 17, verse 13, Meshiv ra'a tachat tova. Someone who returns a disfavor for a favor, lo tamush badness and punishment will not leave him. Meaning, if you are someone who got a favor, if someone was nice to you, if someone benefited you, if someone did something that really helped you, you have a debt of gratitude to that person. Now, it's possible you won't choose to repay them. It's possible you won't choose to make an effort to reciprocate. However, if someone does something bad to the person who did good to them, that's an entire new level of impropriety. So King Solomon says, it's one thing when you don't return a favor. It's one thing when you don't have gratitude. But if you return a disfavor for a favor that you've gotten, then the punishment will always be with you. Because who's going to want to help such a person? A person who returned a favor with a disfavor, obviously no one's going to want to help that person. So if someone returns a disfavor for a favor, lo tamush ami beito, negativity will always be with them because they returned the disfavor for a favor. What could be worse than that? So next time the person will need help, no one's going to want to help them. Poter maim reshit madon. If you've ever seen a dam that is blocking the water, all it needs is really the first crack. Once you crack that, the dam, the water starts bursting and going more and more and more strongly and flooding the place. So King Solomon says, Poter maim reshit madon. If someone starts a fight, it's like the person who first pulls the plug in the dam. It's like the first person who opens a hole in the dam, which leads to a tsunami, which leads to a huge wash of water. And that's something that has a real consequence. So King Solomon says, don't think, if you're starting a fight, don't think it's just going to be one and done quickly, that's it. Rather, if the person starts a fight, it is going to have long consequences. And therefore, since a fight, a little conflict often leads to a big conflict, since a little conflict often leads to more serious fighting, then you should you should jump ship before that comes. So if you see a situation where conflict ensues, where conflict is beginning, don't wait for the big wash. Don't forget for all the waters to wash over. Rather, you should just get out of there as fast as you can. Here's the next one. Verse 15 is just so important in these days. Someone who justifies the wicked, or someone who convicts the righteous, God despises both of them. We have so many situations today where people try and say, oh, well, two options. Either people try and justify the wicked and excuse bad behavior, or we have people who try and convict and indict the righteous. God says both of them are absolutely unacceptable. There is the next verse cannot be overstated. You ever see someone that is very wealthy. I remember there was, I think 2 years ago, there was a college admission scandal where you had people who were going to college that were not doing great, but they had the money to go to college. And they had the possibility to access top-notch education while very, very smart people, much smarter people, were left out of college and not able to acquire that education. So to that, King Solomon says, why is it that sometimes the foolish are the ones who can afford wisdom and live, and yet they don't have the heart to use it? Wouldn't it be better if someone who is much more motivated, someone who is much more hardworking, were the one who was able to afford the education? So King Solomon says, sometimes it's a waste. You see people who are very, very incapable. They are the ones who can afford education and wisdom, while the ones who really should be able to get the wisdom and are ambitious and smart and talented, they don't have the price to possess it. Rashi explains this is not talking only on its simplest level. It's also talking about those who study the wisdom of the Torah, of the Bible. Sometimes you have people who have the ability to study the Torah, who have the ability to pursue righteousness, and they study it, but they don't have the heart to fulfill it. And that also is a sort of a form of injustice, something that's unfortunate. Why is it that sometimes the foolish is able to acquire wisdom and without a heart to fulfill it? Next one is just such an important verse. At all times, try and acquire new friends. And this is more important now than ever because people are alone, people are at home, etc. And the idea is we say always try and find new friends. Always. Why? Because this is verse 17, chapter 17, verse 17. Why should you always try and get new friends? Because you will see that if you are in trouble, if you're going through a tough time, that friend is going to be there like a brother. So always try and acquire new friends because you never know what's around the corner. You never know what's waiting for you. And having someone at your side, having someone who's going to be your friend, that is critical. So always try and find new friends. Always try to love new friends, to pursue new friends. You will see that in times of difficulty, they will be like a brother to you. Next, verse 18, Adam chasar lev tokea kaf. A heartless person is a person who takes a guarantee, meaning we spoke before about how sometimes people would get a loan with a guarantor. And so someone who's irresponsible says, sure, I'll sign on your loan and I'll be a guarantor. But they don't realize that signing on has real consequences. And so someone who's heartless just signs on and takes on responsibilities. And he is someone who is really responsible and committed to his friend. And so they're saying another explanation is this is talking about those who pursue the heretics. It says that if someone is heartless, they have no problem partnering with heretics, and they forget about their partnership with God. So your partnership with God has to come first before you're willing to make any bond or any commitments to anyone else. Here's the next one, very, very nice one. Ohev pesha, ohev matzah. Someone who loves sort of treason. And by the way, thank you for all the graciousness and for everyone that's here with us. I really appreciate it. Ohev pesha, ohev matzah. If someone loves conflict, if someone is disloyal, if someone loves sort of betraying their friend, they also love conflict. Why? Because they don't mind. If they get into a conflict, it just feeds their need for disloyalty. So if someone is not a loyal friend, they're going to look for the conflict, and that it serves them in the sense that it allows them to sever ties and to be unloyal. So someone who loves disloyalty also loves conflict. If someone speaks with haughtiness, with arrogance, with overconfidence, that person is seeking also their own downfall, because eventually that is going to happen. Next, Ikesh lev lo yimtza tov. Someone who is stubborn in their heart, not only stubborn, but I'm trying to think what a good word is for someone who, sorry, I'll show it on the, someone who zigzags, someone who is, maybe in the chat you can tell me what the word is for someone like that. It's someone who goes like that. Ikish. The word ikish is someone who goes like that. I don't know if there's a word for it in English, but it's a word for someone, I guess, who's treacherous or deceptive. So ikesh lev lo yimtza tov. The person who is deceptive will not find good. And someone who is constantly changing up on their word, then they are also eventually going to trip up. I see facetious. Yeah, maybe facetious. That's a possibility. Yes. So it could be someone who's facetious, someone who's constantly zigzagging on their word. That person is not going to find good. Someone who's constantly flipping on their word, they will. Next is the verse we've seen in different variations. Someone who gives birth to someone who is foolish and evil-hearted, that is eventually something that the parent is going to feel pain from. There's so many stories in the book of Kings and in the book of Isaiah, I believe. Either Isaiah or no, I'm not sure. Anyhow, you have the king Menashe, who was a very evil king. And so it says his father, King Hezekiah, was righteous. And so the indignity, the pain of of the wickedness of the child often is something that gives a lot of pain also to the parent. Verse 22, Lev sameach yetiv geha v'ruach necha teyabesh garam. This is like a biological truth. If someone is happy, if someone is joyful, that is physically healthy. And now we have so many studies that affirm this, that if you are a happy person, if you are satisfied, if you're dancing, if you're singing, that makes your body healthy. If you're doing things that make you happy genuinely, not just in a materialistic way, but rather really making you happy inside. So that actually is healthy for your body. Verse 22, Lev sameach yetiv geha. A happy heart will make your body healthy. V'ruach nechea teyabesh garam. And someone who is, absolutely, thank you, yeah. Someone who is downtrodden and sad and upset, that is something that is not only going to affect their mood, but it's also going to impact their physicality. It's going to cause their bones to dry. Teyabesh garam literally means it's going to make their bones dry up. It's going to make them really suffer physically. This is a very interesting verse, because usually you think of bribery as a bad thing. Here, King Solomon is speaking of bribery in a good sense, in the sense of someone who's, so to speak, bribing God. They're doing good deeds. Shochad mechek rasha yikach. God will accept even a bribery. Now, it says in the Torah, God accepts no briberies, which means God doesn't accept briberies to overlook anything. But if someone is very wicked and then they do even one good deed, God sees that good deed. God does not overlook anything. So if there's even a good thing that you can do, one good deed, that is going to register. It won't make God ignore everything else, but it also will make God see that good deed. So shochad mechek rasha yikach. God will take even this bribery from the wicked, and even if that person deserves a punishment, even if that person is in trouble, still God will make sure that that person receives a good judgment. And that continues on to verse 24. It's pnei mevin chokhmah ve'nei ksil b'ktzei haaretz. The wisdom is in front of those who are smart, and the foolish is looking all over. Sometimes, the answers are right in front of us. So the wise person is looking right around them. It's looking right in his proximity. But the foolish are sometimes looking in all the wrong places and all the places they should not be looking. So that is verse 24. Be'ezrat Hashem, we will continue every day this week at 12 o'clock. I cannot thank you enough for participating. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here and taking the time for this study, and look forward to seeing you during the week, every day, 12 o'clock. Your comments, feedback are more than welcome. I really appreciate it. Shavua Tov, and thank you so much.